Good morning and good afternoon to all of our attendees. Thank you for joining today's Family Office Network's webinar series, Technology-Driven Environmental Opportunity. Presenting for us is Tom Marrero. Tom is president and co-founder of Wakefield BioChar, where he brings 25 plus years of leadership and technical experience. Tom completed his undergraduate in chemistry at Texas Christian University and his PhD in analytical chemistry at University of Missouri. His doctoral research focused on macroporous char, including biochar for the treatment and disposal of radioactive and organic waste. Tom holds 1 patent and has authored 6 scientific papers. At the end of today's presentation, we will have plenty of time for Q&A, and we always encourage your questions. Please use your questions chat option on the right side of your screen to send over all questions. And Tom, I will let you get started.
Great, thank you, Lindsay, and thank you to everybody for attending today. I'm really excited to talk to you about Wakefield BioChar. We are a minority and veteran-owned company, and as you'll see on the next slide, we are identical twin-owned company as well. So as Lindsay said, my name is Tom Marrero, and what I bring to the company is a lot of management leadership experience as well as my science background. And one of the unique things about my research was it was with a group at the University of Missouri where the term biochar was actually first published in a research paper. Biochar has been around for a long time, but we were actually part of the group that used the term first in a research paper. Tony is my twin brother and also co-owner of the company. And what he brings is the business acumen. He is an entrepreneur by heart. He's been doing it for 20 plus years in multiple levels, and brings that part of the company that allows me to do the science, and he can bring in the business for us to succeed as we grow. So what is Wakefield BioChar? Well, we are a biochar company. And so what is biochar? The picture on the bottom right is biochar. It's a carbon. It's used for many things, but a biochar itself is made from a waste biomass. And it's used for many things, from agriculture to advanced materials. And one of the great things about it is it allows us to fight climate change. So biochar, like I said, has been around for a long time. It was called many other things, but it really started, was taking notice thousands of years ago along the Amazon River. What happened was there was a lot of burning of wood or residues by the people along the river to feed a large population. And what they found is when the soils were amended with this carbon, the crops, the corn, would grow better, and they were able to feed people better. And so you can see in the picture on the right that the soil on the left is unamended soil. The corn is not growing well, and it's not going to do well because there's not a lot of nutrients. The biochar or amended soils on the right actually help hold nutrients and water and things that the plants need to grow, and the crops are doing better with it. And so that is traditionally how people would see biochar. Since the 1990s, really when I started off in grad school, there has been a lot of research on how we can use this carbon for not only soil health, but for remediation purposes and other advanced materials. Because it's unique in the fact that it has a large surface area, very much like an activated carbon. It has a high carbon content, which is important as well. And so it has a lot of utility in many different sectors. The picture on the bottom left is actually a pyrolysis reactor. It's how Wakefield is a modern, or will become a modern company with the installation of this equipment in our facility. And this allows us to do high volume production of biochar to do something that's not common in the market, which is have a good quality control on material that's needed for many different applications. So the process itself, to make sure it's understood, is that we take a biomass, and that biomass could be wood, it could be agricultural residues like corn stover, it could be coconut coir. We can even do biosolids for water treatment facilities, grasses, and other materials like even plastics if needed. We take that material and we push it through something called pyrolysis, and that's where we heat the biomass with no oxygen present. And this picture is really what's unique about what we're trying to do is we're looking at using an electrically heated screw in an environment with no oxygen. And when we do that, we're able to use renewable energy to control the temperature of the screw, to have a consistent heating element, and really produce a high quality material that's constant. What comes out on the other end is the gases and the char. The gas is called syngas, is really a mixture of methane, hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and other things that we actually reuse to generate heat to dry the biomass. So it's like a cycle, and we can create a very efficient system. The biochar itself is very clean. It doesn't have any of the gases condensing on it. So what we have is a high purity carbon with low volatile matter, and something that can be used in agriculture in other ways. And so this is something, when you think about it, why is biochar important? Why is it carbon negative would be a term to use? Is because if the biomass and the trees are left in the forest or large landfills and they're allowed to decompose, they're going to decompose and create methane and other gases and carbon dioxide to go into the atmosphere and contribute to greenhouse gases. We're going to stop the majority of that carbon from becoming a greenhouse gas by converting into this fixed carbon, this biochar, that will not decompose and will not contribute to global warming. And so for that reason, we're now reversing what would naturally would have occurred. We're being a carbon negative process. So we see that throughout the news today. There's articles all the time. Business has a climate problem, and they talk about it, how they're going to deal with it. Whether it's government regulatory issues, internal sustainability desires by the companies, pressures from society to change. Businesses have this climate problem. Well, the reality is it's not just a climate problem, it's a carbon problem, because it all goes back to how they're sequestering carbon. And Wakefield has an answer to those problems. We have the ability to help large businesses fight the issues of global warming and reach the goals that they want to do, whether it's zero landfill or reduce carbon emissions, by what we do naturally as a company. In fact, biochar was listed within the top 100 types of products or methods to help bring back or draw down the issues of global warming. And we're number 72 out of 100 within the drawdown book. And it's really, it's a team effort. No one technique is going to solve all problems of the world. It has to be all the possible processes we can put together. And biochar itself has a strong potential to help reduce CO2 emissions into the atmosphere. With that, we are definitely trying to innovate at scale. And the picture on the right really just kind of show it. We take organic waste, things that are a problem in large volumes, whether it's biosolids, mill wastes, which are in the tens of thousands of tons, agricultural residues. We're going to convert those within a Wakefield facility into biochar, which can then be used for farming to improve soil health, help with government initiatives, used for trees, urban gardens, stormwater remediation, your personal lawn, your personal raised bed garden, and other processes throughout the country that really would make an impact. And so we're really proud of that part of what we're doing. So with that, what we've done is we've created our opportunities, and naturally we started off with soil health. Wakefield's been around for 7 years, and we've grown very slowly every year to where we are today. So the soil health portion of what we do is really the retail of biochar is a pure substance, or we mix it with a compost or other blends, to where we can provide it to people through Home Depot, Target, Lowe's, distributors. Amazon is a big platform for us as well. And so soil health is our retail part of it. Advanced materials is really the next level, the ability to take wood chips specifically for us here at our facility, and then convert that to biochar. And that's going to allow us to enter in a whole new realm of non-soil related issues. So things that I think would have a major impact in stopping the use of things like carbon black. And then we also have our beneficial reuse division. The beneficial reuse division is something that was a natural progression of what we do. With beneficial reuse, what we found is we were trying to lock up our feedstock. We were trying to lock up our supply chain. And so we found paper mills in the Southeast United States generating a lot of things that would be considered biochar. And so we developed relationships with those mills. We got a key hire for someone that get us access into the mills, and we've set up contracts to where we could procure our feedstock. What naturally came out of that was the fact that mills have other problems that we could solve. And so we've been able to generate more revenue just because of our presence within the mills and what we do as a company. So for this specific raise, though, we're going to focus in on soil health and advanced materials. That's specifically going to go towards equipment needed within our facility. This slide, we wanted to give you just an idea of the growth potential and what we're doing now. Within each one of our divisions, whether it's soil health, advanced materials, or beneficial reuse, we have the ability to grow. We are doing some of these things already. We are not doing all of them, but we see the ability to grow into them as we grow naturally as a company. So we're not overextending. We have the e-commerce fulfillment platforms going. We work with lawn and garden stores. We do direct to consumers and have distributors. But we have other areas that we can move into. Farming, as far as soil health, is an area that definitely takes some initiatives that we're working on, and we see a lot of potential in the future. With advanced materials, there's so many things that we could look at, but we certainly have a key customer in line where we have a supply agreement being formed, which would allow us to secure revenue for years to come. And then beneficial reuse is really one of those areas that's allowing us to grow as a company over the next rounds of investing right now. And I think that's going to be something that allows us to have Wakefield presence within each of the mills and do some incredible work at removing landfill uses by the mills and producing renewable energy, as well as producing biochar that we could use for retail purposes. So the markets are quite large for each one of these divisions as you look at it, and we do see ourselves already entering each one of those and having the ability to generate a good reputation in what we do. And so I think it makes it easy for us to look at this and say that Wakefield has great potential for growth in what we're doing, whether it's partnering with other companies or creating our own products and moving forward. So where are we at? Well, we decided about a year and a half ago to plant a flag in southern Georgia. We found that Valdosta, Georgia was a great place for us to do it. We knew that we had to start to scale based off our current business strategies and what we were doing and seeing. And so what we did is we found this wonderful facility that we call the Wakefield Innovation Center in Valdosta, Georgia, where it has given us the ability to really have the chance to grow without having to move. And that was important to us. This facility had been abandoned for a number of years, and we were able to secure a lease and can have it for us right now. So that is something that's going to allow us to be more efficient with our funds and how we move. The technology that we have and the platforms that we want to use with this pyrolysis equipment specifically is proven technology. It's just used in other different applications. And so we've tried to find something that when we bring in our pyrolysis equipment, it's something that we know will work, and we can make sure it's used for our applications. And this will also allow us to develop our own intellectual property as we work with our feedstocks and our systems. And then making a global impact is something that has been important for us as well. We already have relationships with DS Smith, which is a global company based in the UK, and they have interest with Europe as well as what we're doing with them in the United States. We're working with people in Asia right now as well, and we've done and have an ongoing project with the US Department of Energy, working in the Marshall Islands and the Pacific Ocean, trying to manage some remediation efforts dealing with radioisotopes from days gone past. And so we see a lot of promise and really profit with a purpose from all those activities. So the bigger picture, as far as what we see ourselves doing, we're not an app. We're not we're not going to necessarily find us on your iPhone, but we are a company that has a lot of ability for growth with a small amount of capital investment. And we see the revenue growing over the years. As you can see, that over the next 5 to 10 years, our annual revenue would be something that it's worth the investment in. So what we are doing is looking for investors that really want to make an impact. We're looking for people who have a desire for climate issues, and then someone who wants to find that way to make a profit with a purpose. We see a 5 to 10 year investment horizon with a potential successful exit at 10 to 20x as we move forward. So our capital raise is we're looking for $2 million. And with that $2 million, we see ourselves as a $4.8 million pre-money valuation. The raise would be for a Series A preferred units. The money itself is going to be going for really what we call the Wakefield Innovation Center in Valdosta, Georgia. The equipment that we were looking to purchase, the pyrolysis equipment specifically, is roughly $550,000 for us to work with additional traditional financing to bring it in, as well as the purchase of our facility to secure this area in Valdosta and make sure we have the space to grow. And then some facility improvements. And what we're seeing right now is a need for increase in retail bagging systems. We see a great increase in our daily shipments of retail, so that would be very beneficial for us. In addition, we have working capital listed in there. We have partnered with Jacobs Engineering. Jacobs Engineering has been critical in what we've done so far. We've worked with them already, but what we'd like to do is have them help us grow. So within our Valdosta facility, we would have Jacobs Engineering come in and work with us and bring in facility managers and operators for the equipment. And that allows us to bring in expertise and security in what we're doing. The agreement would be that we would have them for 3 to 5 years. And then at that point, we would then transfer to a Wakefield employees, which may still be the same personnel, which generally is the case, but Jacobs is on board with that. And then we would also use them as we grow to other sites. If we were in the future growth, be able to work within paper mills and put in our own equipment there to deal with their biomass directly on site, Jacobs Engineering would help us operate those in a very similar fashion, and then we would do the same sort of transition. The marketing and business development would also be critical as we grow. We see a need for increased education, marketing, and business development to make sure that we are using our equipment to the highest capacity. So the exit strategy, Wakefield, we do have long-term customer relationships with paper mills and paper companies. DS Smith has been a great advocate for us, both on social media as well as we're being presented or applied to leadership awards within the paper industry with DS Smith, and hopefully we'll get that and be able to share with that at a later time. But we do see our growth plan moving forward. We're a 5-year growth plan with potential someone in the industry acquiring us with a large valuation. The financials themselves, what I would tell you is we see the growth curve continue to go up. If you look at each of the bars on the graph, beneficial reuse, which is our work in the paper mills, soil health, which is the sale of products, as well as advanced materials, which is what's going to be done here in Valdosta as well. Those are going to grow continually. The soil health and advanced materials are a little bit slower in the growth, but I think those are going to start to really increase and be equal to or greater than beneficial reuse over the years. So we do see a good increase in revenue with our current strategy. We use Salesforce to track our what's going on within the company. We're very excited that we've already closed over $5 million worth of contracts this year. Some of those contracts are multiple years, and that's fine. A 3-year contract for $1 million a year has been great with Georgia Pacific. Plus, we have some additional contracts that have been closed. The pipeline itself looks strong, and the potential revenue from what we're doing is certainly there. So that's my presentation. I've got Tony's information on there. You're welcome to certainly reach out to him or to me as well with any questions or concerns. I appreciate your time on the presentation, and I would would welcome your questions.
Thank you so much, Tom. Yes, to our attendees, again, time for Q&A. So please use your questions chat option on the right side of your screen to send those on over. Let's see, Tom, I'm just going to jump right into it. Let's talk about money real quick. So I know you did give us a little bit of an overview on this already, but what is your year-to-date revenue? Can you go into detail on that for us?
So the year-to-date revenue, as far as the sales for soil health, we've already eclipsed last year's sales, and we're at a little over $405,000. And I'd have to check on that with the rest. We also have additional revenue from our beneficial reuse division, where we've actually invoiced over a total combined $900,000 this year. So we're on track as far as the total revenue by the end of the year to be over 3 million plus.
Fantastic. Okay, let's see, next question. How does carbon trading fit into your operations?
That's great. That's a great question. So we already have an account with a platform called Puro Earth, which is based out of Europe. They've already tagged us to put approximately 15,000 tons of CO2 removal equivalents on the market for next year. So we're actively working to secure the auditing to get it completed so that we can put those carbon credits specifically on their market. Everything that we do, we've looked at that. With the paper mills, they do generate a lot of carbon. We're working with the mills directly to get their systems audited so that we can put their carbon on the market under our name. And they're happy to do it because we can do a revenue share with them and they can make money on things they've never made money before. Specifically to what we do here in Valdosta at what we want to put in with the pyrolysis equipment, we're going to be putting in very efficient equipment. We're going to be using Forestry Stewardship Council certified wood to create biochar. And so the value of carbon credits will increase with our material here for soil health specifically.
Sounds great, thank you. Let's see, next question. Can you talk about your IP and how Wakefield's products and processes compare to other biochar firms out there? Maybe like a little bit about your competitors would be good.
Sure, there are a couple competitors out there. There's a group in the West Coast, Pacific BioChar, and they do produce, or they do acquire biochar, and they do blending just like similar to what we do, but they're not looking to do the full spectrum of what Wakefield can do, which is work within the mill structures. And I think the scale of what we're doing is far bigger than what they have in mind. In the Northeast of the United States, there are a couple people who have looked to or are looking to bring in facilities to make biochar. And we know them, we talk to them and work with them. And what's unique about us is that the people that are trying to do biochar at a larger level don't want to sell it, what Wakefield does. And so that's where Tony's strengths really come to play. We are known for the ability to move and sell biochar. So even though we might have a few people out there competing to make biochar, we're the people that actually they want us to sell it for them. Pacific BioChar it does have an educational side to what they're doing as well. So as far as intellectual property, there are things that we're doing that are certainly going to allow us to hold the market on replacing carbon black and what we work with it and how we manipulate the char in order to meet the thresholds that are required for displacing it, to include things like activated carbons as well.
Perfect, thank you. Now, how is your process carbon negative?
Sure. The example I always kind of bring up is like what happens when a tree falls in the forest, right? Whether you hear it or not, it's going to decompose. And so that material is going to create greenhouse gases. And there's a large volume of it that's being used and harvested by the tree industry. So when trees are harvested and they're brought into the mills, they generate a lot of wood waste. That wood waste is allowed to decompose in landfills. And what we're trying to do is stop that process. We're trying to prevent the wood from decomposing or other biomass and preventing that greenhouse gas from going into the atmosphere. And that's one of the key parts of the carbon negative process. And we are going to be audited by third parties for the carbon market to show and quantify the actual carbon negativity of the biochar. So that's one of the things that's really good about how we're looking at it, is that we're trying to make sure we can quantify and tell people exactly what they're doing and the impact they're making on the environment.
Perfect. And how long are your B2B contracts in beneficial reuse and advanced materials?
So the beneficial reuse, the standard contract is 3 years. We're looking for a 10-year contract for systems. If we bring in our own pyrolysis systems into the mills, we're looking for a minimum of a 10-year contract, because we'll be providing them energy as well as removing their landfills, and the amount of effort needed to do it, the mills also see that as a reasonable time frame. The other supplier agreements, we're looking at a minimum of 3 to 5 years for that.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about why you chose your location for Wakefield Innovation Center?
Absolutely, because I never lived in South Georgia. If you'd asked me 3 years ago, Valdosta, where's that at? I wouldn't be able to tell you. I can find Atlanta, but not Valdosta. What we saw over the years, though, as we grew as a company, that the feedstock that we wanted to use, the quality material that we needed to use, was in the Southeast United States. And then we also realized that there were a number of mills in the Southeast United States that allows us to acquire their biochar. And so we started to look more and more, and then we realized there's a city called Valdosta, and that's actually a hub for Lowe's distribution center. There's I think Dillard's has a distribution center. There are a number of other large companies nearby that have distribution centers. So we realized, as far as the ability to reach our customers, the location and proximity to our supply material is all within this area. And so we spent time in Valdosta. We found multiple buildings, and actually within a 3-week period of time, I think I signed 3 leases, and we bailed on 2 because they just didn't have what we needed on infrastructure. But this facility was really actually it was abandoned, and no one knew what to do with it. And so the owner said, "Hey, listen, I like what you guys are doing. We'll let you work in the back half of it." The Wakefield Innovation Center itself is 250,000 square feet. It's 31 acres, and it's made for us to be able to do large-scale manufacturing. When we start to really bring in equipment, we have the ability to bring in up to 9 pyrolysis units. Each one of those units could produce a minimum of 2.5 million per year in revenue. And then we have an entire other building that we can put things into. And so we're working very aggressively to bring in either like-minded companies or have that ability to grow ourselves within the facility.
Perfect. I don't think I've heard of that location either, so thank you.
Actually, it's not too bad. It's not.
So Tom, beneficial reuse is growing so quickly, and what can you tell us about the long-term opportunity versus advanced materials?
I'll start with advanced materials because that's the focus of the equipment for this raise. Advanced materials is something that will continue to grow. We see the need for textile and other product needs for advanced materials. That the cost and the revenue from a ton of biochar that's made through the advanced materials division is going to be far more higher and give us larger revenue than, let's say, what we would do for a ton of what we get from beneficial reuse. So that being said, it's we feel like this facility easily could become multi-million-dollar facility in revenues per year. Beneficial reuse is a little bit more decentralized because what we see is the need to be on the premises of each mill. We've been talking to mills in Toledo, Oregon, Brunswick, Georgia, Cedar Springs, Georgia, Palatka, Florida. All these different locations are talking with us now about bringing in our equipment on site to remove their landfills. And that's a big deal, is actually this need because of whether it's government push or corporate identity to remove their landfill needs. The landfills at these mills are not trash. They're wood fiber or wood chips or other materials like that that we can manage and keep it out of it. And what they get in return is steam or electricity, and we get biochar that we can put on the fields and get carbon credits for. So when we talk about beneficial reuse, that division itself has the ability to grow. I'm going to use the word exponentially, but we already are talking to multiple mills. Each one of those mills is going to be a multi-million-dollar per year contract for 10 years in order for us to install equipment and operate.
Now, Tom, talk to us a little bit about your academic background related to biochar.
Sure, I was at the University of Missouri Columbia, and I worked under Stanley Manahan. Dr. Manahan is a very well-published author in environmental chemistry and considered the grandfather of environmental chemistry. And one of his passions was working with different, whether it was a coal-based char, so bituminous coal, or a biomass-based char, where we would use different sorts of agricultural residues in order to make a carbon. And with that carbon, we were able to work at the University of Missouri has what's a research reactor, the MUR, where I was able to take and make my own radioisotopes and challenge the carbon matrix with the radioactive material and do testing to see if it would be leachable within water systems or in the soil. We actually made construction materials. We made concrete mixed with the char to see how the structural integrity would work. Part of that was for potential storage capability for long-term storage of radioisotopes. And so what I was able to do is really get a very detailed knowledge of what happens with the carbon, what's going on during pyrolysis and gasification, and the different ways to look at it through remediation. The good thing was I'm from the middle of Missouri, and there's a lot of farming as well. So naturally, I learned a lot about farming, and Dr. Manahan actually was a Kansas farmer prior to becoming a professor. So I understood about soil health, and we're able to look at how we could apply biochar to both issues of remediation and issues in soil health.
Wonderful background. Thank you so much. Tom, that seems to be all the questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we say our goodbyes?
I want to just thank you for your time, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to present to you. We are certainly one of those companies that I think we're based on a solid foundation. We have a good, solid base, but we have the ability to do some things that are extraordinary if we're allowed to grow. And so I hope that you could look at us as someone who's going to further the fight against climate change and do some really good quality products while we're doing it.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure having you today. To all of our attendees, my name is Lindsay with Family Office Networks. I'll be following up with everyone individually. So if you would like more information or have any additional questions, I am more than happy to get you in direct contact with the Wakefield BioChar team. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.